Oklahoma, Southwest. I'm originally from Southwest Oklahoma. It's a little small town called Burns Flat. So born and raised out there, family farmed for many years, had a land a long time. I went to school at Oklahoma State and met my lovely wife, Amanda, up there when we went to school at OSU. She's from Tulsa. So kind of decided to meet halfway in between both sets of our families in Oklahoma City, and it has been home we've almost been married 5 years now. So coming up on that, we own a business, own a all-state office here at Northwest 39th and Classen, so right here in the heart of Oklahoma City. She actually just started working here. This is our second week here, so we're kind of going all in on it still. We've been open since January of this year, so coming up on our anniversary. So we've been working together every day. It's a lot of fun. I know it's a lot of you that are married out there, kind of like, how can you do that? But we're having a lot of fun so far. I know we're week 2, so check in with me in 6 months. But it's been really, really good so far. And part of the reason I wanted to get involved with Rotary is, one, I'm just passionate about Oklahoma in general, and truly after being here in Oklahoma City for almost 5 years, just Oklahoma City and the Midtown area. And I think Midtown Rotary specifically, does a really good job of giving back to the community through arts. That's our big focus in Midtown Rotary. It's something that, something for me I wanted to broaden a little bit of my horizon and what, get myself out of the box a little bit. A lot of the Midtown Rotary members have a lot of background in art, and I want to get there. I want to be able to continue to give back, because art is so important, and whether it's music or paintings, whatever it might be, murals, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a great opportunity. And just as Anthony said, these power hours on Thursdays are a great opportunity for you that maybe can't make it on Tuesday night. So I do have a quote here I'll finish up with from Maya Angelou. He said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I think that that's a really great quote, something I try to live by, on making people, I want people to feel good. I want people, I don't want to hurt people. So just making every day a positive, whether it's my employees or anybody else that try to come in contact with, I do want to try to make a positive, lasting effect. So thank you guys for being here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate you being part of Midtown Rotary. And he did mention a mural. If you guys are ever in Midtown, right across the street from St. Anthony's, there is a mural outside, just kind of thanking our local heroes here, and we helped fund some of that. So take a look at that mural. Pretty cool. Great artist. We'd love to tell you the story about it. And we have downtown Oklahoma City's with us. We have just a whole slew of people, but I want to give Ms. Harris a moment to introduce herself. I know she's going to speak with us a little bit in depth here, but Ms. Harris, if you want to just touch on who you are.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. I'm Alicia Harris. I am the Director of Planning and Engagement with the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority. I have been with the Department of Health for about 7 years or so, and have worked in various divisions, and actually helped build the OMMA when it was presented to us as a potential, as State Question 788 and potentially passing. So I started off working as the patient manager and overseeing all of our patient licensing and patient services, and then became the Director of Planning and Engagement. So I'm really happy to be here. My mother-in-law is a Rotarian in the Tulsa area, and so of course she is always talking about her work with the Rotary. My brother-in-law was a member of the downtown Rotary at one point. And so very much respect for all of you and the great things that you do in our communities. So,
very cool.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much. And my name is Anthony Garcia. Like I said, I am your host. For my day job, I am a registered investment advisor with Mass Mutual there in Midtown, Oklahoma. But it's so cool to be with you guys here today. And for those of you who keep joining us, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. With that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our service announcement. This Saturday, November 20th, this is our November service project. We'll be assisting the Homeless Alliance in sorting, sizing, and boxing items for their day shelter. Guys, it's getting colder. They sent out an email earlier, which was a little bit heartbreaking kind of talking about some of the emergency funding that they're going to use for the day shelter as the temperatures drop. You guys might remember that around this time last year, we had the ice storm. And so a lot of the things that we do impact the community as a whole. And this is a great project to be involved with. Emily Duncan would have sent out that email. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it or sign up, please take a look at that from Emily. There is a link there to register for this Saturday. It's got the COVID guidelines, protocols, where to park, and really just kind of the day activities on some of the things that we'll be doing. But please, if you can make it, 1729 Northwest 3rd Street from 9 a.m. to noon. Again, that's going to be this Saturday. So great project, which takes me into my Rotary Minute. I know I touched on this last time that we were together, but being part of a Rotary, a lot of that is community service. It's an act of good. And so when we're selecting our service projects or places that we want to be involved with, places we'd like to volunteer our time and really kind of make an impact with our money, we're doing that locally for the communities that we serve. And we recognize the importance of giving back to the community. That's one of the great things about Midtown Rotary is we're very involved, whether that's at the Homeless Alliance or at the shelters or cleaning up the parks, helping out with some of our local community projects. We're there, and people love reaching out to us because they know we're going to show up. We have a responsibility to find ways to improve the quality of life for those in those communities and to serve the public interest. So big shout out to our team for coordinating with a lot of great organizations here locally. And guys, if you're not part of a Rotary, or if you've considered joining a Rotary, you should check us out. Again, we meet Tuesday nights, 6 o'clock at McNally's. The beer's usually flowing. We have great speakers. And of course, there's Power Hour on Thursday afternoons. So that's my Rotary Minute. That wraps me up there, which brings us to the good stuff. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our speaker for the day. Contact information for Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority is on the screen. Social media handle OMMAOK. Of course, that's their website and a telephone number. I'm sure they're busy, so maybe email's better. But Miss Alicia Harris holds a bachelor's degree in community and public health from the University of Central Oklahoma and a master's degree in health and wellness management from the University of Central Oklahoma. She started with the Oklahoma State Department of Health in 2012, working as a crash prevention coordinator with the Injury Prevention Service. She transitioned into the Oklahoma City County Health Department to work in tobacco use prevention. Alicia later returned to the OSDH in 2015 to work as a health planner in the Center for Health Innovation and Effectiveness. She transitioned to work with the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority when it was first brought to the OSDH as a project. Upon the passage of State Question 788, she became the OMMA patient manager and now serves as Director of Planning and Engagement. She's married to her husband, Chris, and they have 2 children. Ms. Harris, thank you so much for joining us. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. And thank you all for having me again. I wasn't sure if you wanted a PowerPoint, so I prepared one because some people are more visual versus auditory learners. And so I wanted to make sure I met that need. So Anthony, if I can share my screen.
Absolutely. You should be co-host. So
am I okay?
Share mine and you should be good.
All right. Let's see. Let's hope that this works here. All right. Perfect. Can you all see the slide deck?
Yes.
Okay, let me make sure it starts from the beginning here. Okay, so again, thank you for having me. There is a lot of information I want to share with you all, and so feel free if you need me to share this deck. If we don't have a chance to go through it all, I can definitely do that with you. So a little bit about the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority. As Anthony said, I've been here since before it was the OMMA. The OSDH was required to oversee medical marijuana in State Question 788 if it were to pass. And as you all know, it passed by a very good margin, about 57% in June of 2018. And since then, we have literally been full steam ahead. We are very much responsible for, we are the full body responsible for the regulation of medical marijuana in the state. So we handle all of our licensing for patient and business licensing, compliance, lab testing, monitoring the program in general. Obviously, we are governed by our rules and statute, which of course is passed by our state legislature. This slide is just kind of showing you how we all started. So passed on 6/26 of 2018. We weren't sure if it would, and as I said, it obviously did. We had 30 days to prepare application requirements and instructions. We made a decision that we were going to put that information online so that it was more easily accessible for the public across the state. And also because we had 14 calendar days, not business days at the beginning, to get applications processed. So we thought online would be the best method to get that out to the public. So by July 26th, that was out on the omma.ok.gov website. And then by August 25th, which was a Saturday, we processed our first set of applications. And within 14 calendar days, we sent out our first set of licenses to patients and businesses. So let's talk a little bit about how we compare to some of the other states across the country that have a medical marijuana program. We have the most rapidly developed program. As I showed you in the previous slide, 60 days, and we were up and going. We have no caps on the number of licensed businesses, and we have quite a few. We'll go over those numbers here in just a moment. We also have no qualifying conditions. We do not require patients to reveal the reason why they are using the product, and we do not require physicians to attach an ICD-9 or ICD-10 code to their recommendation form for the patient that they're recommending the product for. We also have the only quality assurance lab in the country as it relates to medical marijuana. There are labs for marijuana in other states, but ours is focused on quality assurance. And as far as license types, if you aren't familiar, there are many license types that fall under the category of patient license and then also under commercial license. So there's an adult license, which can be either a 60-day, which is just up to the physician. If they feel that the patient only needs to use the product for that short period of time, they can recommend 60-day use. Or you can have just a normal 2-year patient license. There's also an out-of-state temporary license, which is good for 30 days from the date of issuance. And that is given to patients from other states. So it's also referred to as reciprocity, if any of you are familiar with that term in the industry. We also have, for our minors, we have a minor patient license, which is good for 2 years or until the minor turns 18 years old. We do require that the minor has 2 recommendations from 2 separate physicians. They are not required to have a caregiver. That's a common misconception, but they certainly can. However, we do require that a minor is accompanied by an adult when they enter a dispensary. We also have a license that are available at a discounted rate for veterans that have been classified as 100% disabled and can show proof of that classification. We also have a caregiver license that actually has no fee. This license does require that the patient that the caregiver is caregiving for has a recommendation from the physician that they need a caregiver. And the caregiver can actually be a caregiver for up to 5 patients, and they can also cultivate on behalf of that patient. We have lots of commercial licenses that are available for businesses. The one that we see the most and that we have the most of in our state is the grow license, which allows businesses to grow the product indoor or outdoor. We have a processor license, which allows them to process the product and then sell it in whatever form that's allowable. We have the dispensary license, which of course is for the public to then purchase the product. Transporter license, which is confusing to a lot of people. This is a standalone business that if all they want to do is focus on transporting the product for businesses, they can have a transport license. There's also a transporter agent license, which is a little separate. That's if you work for a business and you need to transport product for that business, you're their agent and you have to have a license so that if you're pulled over or something like that, they know that you're not just carrying 10 pounds of weed across the state just because you're transporting it for business purposes. We have a laboratory license. There are currently 28 licensed labs in the state that do product testing for various businesses. We have a waste license. Recent legislation removed the cap on the number of waste facilities that can operate in our state. Currently, we have 9, and I think we'll see many more pop up around the state. We have a research license, which hasn't gotten a lot of traction really, and we can talk more about that later, but we do have that license category available per State Question 788. We have an education license as well, and also not much traction there. And each license is typically $2,500 per year. The waste licensing fee is $5,000. So this is just a chart to show you all the trend. As you know, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, we're busy, and there's a lot of money and a lot of interest and a lot of great things that are coming out of this business. So this is just showing you by the numbers how many patients are actually utilizing the resource of marijuana. So, we started with about 5,000, and this chart can show you, how many, people decided that they wanted to get a patient license. We're at over 388,000 now, 3 years later. So quite a bit of traction there. By the numbers for business licenses, we started, I think our first month, it was about 500 applications that were submitted. And as of right now, we're about almost 14,000 businesses that are licensed in the state of Oklahoma, with grows being the ones with the most licenses. Here's our most recent licensing report. This is also available on the OMMA website. We do keep all of our reporting data on there as far as licensing numbers and tax numbers. So you're welcome to also check it out there. But I thought I'd share this with you guys. This is a breakdown business-wise and then patient and caregiver-wise, how many licenses are out there. So again, total patient licenses, 396,000, and then total business licenses as of October, a little over 13,000. We already have another 1,000 that have been either submitted for renewal or are in a new application status right now. Our tax reporting, a lot of people are very interested in what's going on with the money. Where's all this money going from this booming industry? That is a great question. So I've provided for you on the left panel an idea of kind of where the money goes and how much tax is collected. So per 788, there was an excise tax that was included at the point of sale at 7%. There are also, of course, state and local taxes. And so this chart here, this is our most recent tax report. This shows you where we were when we started in like 2019 for that entire, because that was our full year, right? Since we started in the middle of 2018, that was our full year. 24 million was collected in taxes from that first year. From the excise tax. And then the state and local taxes from the first year, about 30 million. And municipalities are able to do what they need and want with that local and that local tax that they get there. We have had some legislative changes that I just want to draw your attention to. So most recently, there was some legislation that passed that while we do use the excise tax to fund the operations of the OMMA, there are other initiatives and state agencies that do get funding from medical marijuana. Mainly, we're looking at that funding. It goes to education and to the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, and is appropriated for rehab. And so I just wanted to break down for you all that in state fiscal year 21, there was 30 million to education and 10 million to rehab. And then there was an additional appropriation of funds by the state legislature for 12.5 million to mental health and 37.5 million to education. And the taxes at the point of sale, it does apply to all medical marijuana products and for all patients. So the regulatory framework, a lot of people ask about our legislation. We are, we're probably the most popular and unpopular at the Capitol. I'll say it that way. Everybody wants to change all the things about marijuana, which is good and bad, right? because the end result is how it affects the industry and the patients. That's the most important, and that's the most important for us too. I'm sure most of you are familiar with basically like the regulatory framework, if you know anything about medical marijuana, but I just wanted to share this with you. The ballot measure passed, and then obviously went into state statute. It is codified in section 63, 420. That was not our choice that it was 420. If anybody's familiar with 420, that's just the way it landed. Kind of ironic. But anyway, and then became part of Oklahoma Administrative Code. And the Administrative Code is what specifies and defines that regulatory implication for us for State Question 788. Now, since then, boy, there's been a lot of legislation. It's a lot of changes. We started off with just very, very little. State Question 788 was very simple and was good in the sense that it opened the industry up to be able to allow anyone really to have a fair shot at being in the industry, and also didn't limit patients, right? So patients didn't have to prove that they had some sort of illness or what have you. So it was very, very helpful for that reason. And since then, the legislature's gotten quite involved, and every year we see more legislation. So I wanted to include the most recent pieces of legislation, as we just enacted a new set of emergency rules on November 1st, actually. And we're currently in our public comment period that started November 1st and ends December 1st. And of course, the public comment period is an opportunity for anyone and everyone to comment on our potential and proposed permanent rules that would take effect next year. So House Bill 2272, I've outlined it here for you. The majority of the rules really have to do with commercial businesses and trying to kind of get some of those bad actors out. So 2272 definitely was focused on that. It had a requirement that every business had to fill out what's called a foreign financial interest attestation, proving that they had no foreign financial interest. That was an ask of the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. And we started that back in August and are currently working to process all the paperwork that has come in from those 13,000 businesses. And then Senate Bill 1033, again, lots of our legislation was around businesses. So Senate Bill 1033, same. It allowed for publicly traded US and Canadian companies to own a portion of certain types of licenses. There was a big ask of the legislature to do that, and so they did enact that. It also permits the sale of an OMA license, 100% transfer of ownership to another person interested in purchasing that license. It also does strengthen grandfathering provisions for dispensaries related to school distance, because that has been a very big concern. Lastly, House Bill 2904 related to our staffing, right? There's a lot going on in marijuana and we have to be able to keep up. When we started OMA, we had 29 people. That included our call center, our licensing staff, our leadership team. That was it. And we were all housed on one floor in a very small office. The legislature said, you guys need more help. There's way too many businesses and you guys don't have enough hands to deal with it, which is fair and it's true. So this bill ensured that we could meet our staff up goals and that we would be able to hit our rate of desired inspection, which is 100%. So it was a good supportive measure for us. House Bill 2646, this was the OMA's ask bill. We needed some things done in order to be able to regulate this a little bit better. So this was our bill that we put forth. It allows us to now issue recalls to embargo product because there's unfortunately a lot of unsafe product that is out there, and to issue emergency cease and desist action if we needed to. It prohibits bad actors from holding a license for 5 years if we are able to prove that they are doing something that is illegal or not following our rules in some way. It also allows us to prescribe penalties if a facility refuses to grant us access when we're trying to do an inspection. And that has and does happen a lot. It allows us to seek revocation of a license or suspend it if the licensee fails to pay any monetary penalties associated with their license. And that happens too very often. It increased some of those monetary penalties for unlawful purchases and fraudulent reporting. If you look back at State Question 788, it didn't have a lot of penalties. The problem is that bad actors utilize that and they do bad things, and it can hurt people. It can hurt our patients. And so we needed some teeth around trying to keep people safe. Additionally, House Bill 2646 allows OMA to collect fees for license updates. It's amazing how many people update their license, and we have to reprint the card, how much money that actually costs, millions of dollars to reprint patient licenses. Or if they lose their license or something like that, and they lose it like 6 times in a year, it costs about $4 per card. And with everything, the shortages that are going across the world, that's become a big problem. It also removes 24-hour notice requirements for inspections for commercial licensees. Can you imagine if you're trying to go inspect a facility and they're doing a lot of bad stuff, not just stuff with illegal product, but human trafficking, sex trafficking, you name it, slave labor, and they have 24-hour notice that the OMA is coming. They clean it up. And a lot of times we don't find out. So this removed that requirement for us to give that notice. It also expands protection for patient and caregiver information. Already, our patient information is kept very secure, and we do not release that information, but we heard from the public and they wanted expanded protection, and this does provide that. This bill does provide that. Another issue that we were having is applications would be submitted continuously with tons of errors, and people would know that, I've submitted my application, so technically I'm not in an expired status. I'm just in a rejected status, so I can still operate. And they would kind of use that as a loop to where they could stay operational. So this gives us the authority to deny those applications if we've continually, tried to work with them on fixing their errors and they still aren't fixing them. That's rare that people don't want to fix them, but it does happen. It helped us with looking at some changes in batch sizes for testing purposes. And it changed the name of the Food Standards Board that was established per 788 to the Medical Marijuana Advisory Council. When it was established, the intent was that they would focus on food safety and standards, but truly there's a lot more to it than that this group can do. This group is comprised of industry professionals and state officials that work at state agencies like the Department of Ag and in places like that can help us make some good decisions on what to do with our rules and things of that nature. All right, so I was asked to share, what are some things that we're working on in this next legislative session? Because as we all know, it starts first Monday in February. So we're working to address some of our very scary issues, such as the Delta 8 THCO acetate converted Delta 9 environment. We are hearing from the industry that there's just a lot of this going on. A lot of patients don't know enough about it, but they're using it and they're getting sick. We're also hearing from physicians that are having a lot of ER visits and people getting really sick. It's similar to a heart attack when someone takes too much of this product or dabs the product. And so we're working to address that, working with our industry partners and the legislature to address that. We also need to tighten just a little bit more on our regulatory authority in a couple of other places. Compliance, we can go to a facility, grow, dispensary, process facility only twice a year. And so if they're doing anything that they're not supposed to do, beyond doing an investigation, we really can't do just a regular inspection. Or if they need a little bit of guidance, we cannot visit more than twice a year as an inspection. So we're trying to remove the cap on that. Cutting down on the lengthy grace periods between operational status visits. So there's 180 days for a business to become operational. We go and check to see if they're operational and also like to see if they need any help. We just got that authority to be able to do that, but that's a long period of time, 6 months. So trying to find a way to kind of chop that up somehow. And then eliminating confusing language about transporters being able to distribute marijuana. There's a lot of confusion around transporters and what they can and cannot do. And so we want to work on changing some of that language too. The legislature is quite busy with their own ideas of what they want to do. A lot of our legislatures do work with the industry and several professionals in the industry, some very trusted professionals. And so there are certain things that we've heard that they may be working on. But these are kind of our primary focuses as of right now. Some of our internal goals that we have are that we are very committed to inspecting all licensed businesses by the end of 2022. There in 2021, and a lot of it was due to the pandemic, but it was also due to a licensing division that was ran quite well and a compliance division that was not ran quite well. Okay, so our director, Adria Berry, has made it very clear that we have replaced our compliance director with a new compliance director, Fonda Manuel. She was on the news recently. I don't know if anybody saw that. She's great. She comes with a lot of regulatory experience and compliance experience. And Fonda is reshaping our compliance program. We want to ensure every business is inspected at least once, but hopefully twice a year before the end of 2022. The only way to keep patients safe and the only way to help businesses feel confident and comfortable in what they're doing is to ensure that they actually get a chance to talk to us when we come out there. So that's extremely important for us. And in order to do that, we are staffing up tremendously. There was legislation that required that we staff up in the investigation and compliance area. We have already hired nearly 40 inspectors or in the process of hiring before the end of November, which is a lot. We've split up our compliance into regions. So we have inspectors in each region, and we'll have managers in each region to oversee those 11 to 20 inspectors. We're acquiring inspection software that will help us to be able to have more real-time data that we can utilize internally and also share with the public. And we're working more on those status checks and ensuring surrenders are processed so that if a business is no longer operational, we're made aware of it, we're aware of it, and we can go ahead and process all that paperwork and ensure that that license is deactivated. We're also staffing up in a couple of other priority areas. Our investigations unit is staffing up. This is not the same thing as an enforcement officer. I think that's a misnomer there. The OBNDD handles a lot of illegal activity and activity that is is causing problems in this industry. We handle legal activity. And so if we hear of a licensed business that may have something illegal going on, our investigation unit will go out and check into that. And that's the purpose of that unit. So we have 6 commissioned peace officers. They are CLEAT certified, and they are across the state to go out and help with those investigations. We're also hiring more call center and patient and business license processors. The call center takes about 5,000 calls a month, and that's on a slow month. So we're making sure that we include more representatives there and then more of our patient and business license processors as well. So these are some of the things that are next with OMMA. We definitely are working on the inspection software. Seed to sale, we got sued when we tried to implement seed to sale, so that's currently pending. It's in a lawsuit, but in order to really track product, it would be helpful, like most other states, to have a seed to sale system. And then we're also looking to launch a new licensing platform that will make it easier and more efficient for us to process patient and business licenses, and to be able to use barcodes and provide digital licenses so people don't have to carry around a card, and it cuts down on cost. We're restructuring our website, adding great guides on there and helpful documentation, and we're trying to engage more with the community. We're talking a lot to the industry. We're doing listening sessions. We're putting on an OMA conference next year. So things like that, you guys will see on the horizon. So that is my presentation. And if there's time, Anthony, I ran through it as quickly as I could.
It doesn't sound like you guys are busy at all.
Not at all.
I'm going to run through a couple of questions here in the chat. I know there's
Sure.
been some resources put in there, but guys, think about any questions you have. We do have a couple minutes here for Ms. Harris, but I do have a question here from Andy. He says, if an application has been submitted for an inspector role, how can an applicant check on the status if they haven't heard anything?
Well, I think the best way to check is to, you can email us. Actually, I think that's probably the best way. Our OMA communications at ok.gov is a great resource, and we can check into it for you. You could try to contact the State Department of Health Human Resources Division, but I think you'd have more luck contacting us. So OMA communications at ok.gov. The email address is also on our website, and we will check into it for you through our comms team. We'll get with that department and check.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Open question. If anybody has questions for Ms. Harris. Just a comment here. I thought, looking at the taxes, the distribution, especially that piece for the education system, I don't think that gets highlighted enough, that medical marijuana does help fund education here in Oklahoma.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And substance abuse. So thank you for saying that. And looking at, rehabilitation programs.
And guys, we are recording this, so we're going to try to make this available on our Oklahoma City Midtown Rotary YouTube page, and we'll try to get some of those slide decks out to you. I'll reach out to you, Ms. Harris, and see if you can get that sent over to us to try to share with the group. But
I do have a question.
Go for it, Carolyn.
I am actually, Andy is my husband, and he was asking about the grow inspector thing for me, because I've been eligible for referral on your website, because I do track my applications since August. And I have emailed and I have called, and I've just been told to wait. So, but that's not my question. My question is, what public educational programs is OMA going to have, if any, for the different licensees, for growers? For right now, I'm doing mock OMA inspections, and I want to have my clients all ready for you when you come to visit. And I'm just wondering if OMA has any plans to do that public education piece.
That is a great question, Carolyn. I'm so glad you asked that. So yes, we are actually working pretty closely with different professionals in the industry to try to look at how we can do that. With it being such a vast industry, it's hard to, maybe bring people in, but we're trying to look at some sort of education campaign that we could put online, or some sort of videos. Additionally, we're looking at packets that would go out with each new license or with a renewal, that say things that give indicators on things that people need to consider, like you have to get a water permit. You need to make sure that you're talking to the OBNDD. You need to talk with the fire marshal's office, those kinds of things that a lot of businesses aren't familiar with. But just additionally putting on some sort of video or some sort of training sessions on our website that can be accessible, that help businesses prepare for inspections, that gives some information on just the various things that businesses can expect or may need help with. Also, we want to provide that for patients, because we've had a lot of patients say, I've never used marijuana, and I go into a dispensary and I don't feel very confident in who's telling me about the product. And so we're working on that as well. In order to ensure we get the right information out there, we're reaching out to national and local partners. And so it may take some time to get that information together, but that is something that we are working on and hope to have out. We will definitely have something out in 2022.
Is it all right with you if I contact you offline?
Absolutely.
I'd like to help.
I will put my email, if I can here. I'm just going to put it in the chat. In my title, it says planning and engagement. So I like to engage with our industry professionals and patients. Feel free to.
We like that, because that has been one of the largest criticisms of OMA. Fair. It's not that people don't want things to be clean and safe and tracked. You track my lettuce for my salad.
Yes.
So if I'm using this as medicine, I would like to know what's going on with it. So I haven't really met anybody who is frustrated with that fact. It's the fact that we need to communicate with administration, the people that are actually in the grows, selling the cannabis, medical professionals we could have classes for. But anyway, I go on.
We're working on
yes,
that too, Carolyn. Let's talk, because we are working on that,
Yes.
on the medical professionals. So I put my email in the chat, and that is for anyone who would like to chat about anything related to marijuana. I'm not a marijuana expert, but I will do whatever I can to try to help. And at least we can link and find the right people to talk to and bring to the table and have good, meaningful conversation.
I appreciate you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And thank you. And that was one of the reasons that we wanted to have you out here, is because we need to learn more. And
Yeah.
as you guys grow and the technology grows, engagement with everyone is going to be important. Communication is always the key. So I think that's going to wrap up our question section. Thank you so much, Ms. Harris, for spending time with us this afternoon. She did provide that contact information for you, and I'll try to get that out to you guys as well. So we're going to wrap up the rest of our Rotary meeting. You're welcome to stay if you like, but you don't have to stay. Okay, that takes us to, where are we here? Well, we're not at the 4-way test yet. We're at Brag and Boohoo. Guys, if you're not familiar with Brag and Boohoo, this gives you an opportunity to talk about something good that's happened that you can brag about. That's $1, or you can boohoo maybe something that's going awry, and that's going to be $2. All of this gets donated towards a great cause. And I don't know if she left already, but Miss Harris, just so you know, we do give a speaker's gift to Calm Waters, and a portion of that gift will be given in your name. So,
Oh, that's great.
for
Thank
you.
you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So guys, Brag and Boohoo is open if we have any takers. I'll go ahead and start. Thank you so much for the silence. Anthony put me down for 5. Absolutely, Anthony. Great. Thank you so much. We're going out of town this next weekend, and I'm going to get to play some golf down in San Antonio. So that's a little brag for me. I've always wanted to play at this particular course. I'm very excited about that. Boohoo, though, I have to get my oil change, and it's synthetic, and you have to go to the dealership. So it's at least $100 for the holidays. That's just something you have to deal with holiday travel. And just for you guys who are going down to Texas and coming back, Paul's Valley is shut down into one lane. So if you think you're going to make it back quickly coming back from Texas, you will not. So keep an eye out on that. That's my brag boohoo. Anyone else while brag and boohoo is open?
Hey, sure. You can throw me down for 5. Thank you, Alicia, for stopping by. And that was really informative and very educational. And I appreciate you taking the time. And what a cool job that you have to basically get to do that kind of stuff. So thank you very much. And then at Boohoo, because I've had a screw in my tire for like 3 weeks and I keep forgetting about it until I'm about to leave. And that is like this moment right now where I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to budget in 5-10 minutes for airing up my tire at the gas station. So boohoo for that. And I hope everyone has a great week.
I got you down for 5, Anya. Thank you so much. Anyone else before we close brag boohoo? Very good. Brag boohoo is closed, which takes us to the best part of the meeting on top of our speaker. This is the 4-way test. Go ahead and unmute your microphones. Let's say this all together, starting on 3. 1, 2, 3. Of the things
we
we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it true?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And if that is true, we do beg and implore you to go out and find someone with the heart of a Midtown Rotarian. Thank you guys for joining us for this week's Power Hour. We'll see you here in a couple of weeks with another great speaker. Enjoy the holiday coming up. Be safe. Don't burn down your house with a turkey. Jim can talk about grease fires, 4,500, and climbing. You guys enjoy your family time, and we'll see you on the next one.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you.